broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, and welcome to WordStream's next live webinar, our client retention workshop, how to set up your first 90 days for success. And this webinar was designed for agencies like you guys in mind. Before we get going on the content of today's webinar, we just wanted to give a little overview of everything that WordStream has to offer for agencies like you. You know, we really are your partner in agency growth. You can manage Facebook, Bing, and AdWords all from one place. With our new business center and proposal generator that we'll talk about, you can grow your agency, acquire new accounts, and really expand your reach. Just as everyone knows, the regular logistics, this webinar is being recorded, and you can check for it in your inbox coming up within the next 48 hours. And as well, submit your questions today. We want this to be interactive. We want this to be for you guys. So please let us know of any questions you have, and we'll be sure to try to answer them. So without further ado, I'll pass things off to our presenter, Zach.
Thank you, Amanda. Just to give you guys a little background on myself, I'm the director of our agency business. I've been tasked with helping agencies grow by providing tools for WordStream, as well as trying to find new solutions or ways that we can provide you guys content outside of just management optimization. So, throughout my time here, I've completed over 1,000 account audits. My life is immersed with agencies. My wife works at an agency. She manages Facebook for multiple fashion brands. So I hear of all of the struggles, both internal and then obviously through our client base. I have with myself today Dave, who I'll let introduce himself, but he's kind of our expert and thought leader. He does a lot of account audits. He hands-on manages some accounts for our clients and provides some consultations. So I'll let Dave introduce himself.
Hey everybody, as Zach mentioned, my name is Dave. I work here at WordStream on the managed services team, so a bit of a different offering where you all would generally work within the software. I am on the team that handles account management directly. And so just a little bit about myself. I've been at WordStream here for a little over 2 years now, sitting in as a digital marketing expert, most notably in the paid search space. Couple of fun facts, big skier, skied over 140 days in one calendar year, and I'm also an avid Celtics fan, so quick little fun fact about myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. So quick agenda. And again, as Amanda mentioned, this will be sent out, but definitely recommend taking notes because Dave will be providing a lot of insights that come from years of experience and a lot of volume. So we've both looked at a lot of accounts. We've both found really efficient ways to not only set expectations, but gain trust and make sure that clients, when they get started with us, understand what's going to be coming in the short term, and then obviously long-term goals and achievements. So quick agenda, we're going to be starting out with 8 key questions. This is really in the sales process. So before you even begin presenting, you need to dig in and find out if this client is a good fit and you should take on the business. Next, we'll go into a little bit more depth on account audits. So places that you should look to make sure you're setting realistic expectations, or again, really understand if this is going to be a good client for you. And then lastly, making sure that we're setting up a communication cadence that makes sense. We want to make sure that you guys are proactive, not reactive with clients. There is nothing better than not hearing from a client for an extended period of time. That means that everything is going well for you. Interesting stat, we work with a lot of agencies. We work really hard to acquire, customers here, and it's 5 times more expensive to capture a new client than it is to retain an old one. So the goal here today is really how do we make your sales process more efficient, but how do we set those expectations appropriately so that when you sign that contract or agreement with your client, that they stick with you for a long period of time. So, bounce some ideas off of Dave here, but Dave, when you think about clients and you think about bringing on a good qualified client, what are you looking for from them? What kind of makes that ideal client for you?
So we're looking for a couple of things, really. We're looking for someone who is looking to free up some time in their schedule. They're really looking to outsource a lot of their PPC efforts. We're looking for clients that are looking to spend, at a bit of a bigger scale. So you see bullet point 2 here, we're really focusing on people that are willing to spend. They've seen good success in the past, and they're willing to put forth the investment to keep that rolling. We're also looking for clients who are looking to drive better results. Sometimes when people have been managing this themselves, it's not necessarily their strong suit. They come to us, since we do have that PPC knowledge. So they know, they can get through the basics, but they don't necessarily have the tools themselves to fully optimize their account. And then we are also looking to, bring on clients who don't need quite as much communication. Obviously we'll be talking to them with relative frequency, but it's not going to be an everyday type of communication. We can shoot back and forth some emails, but again, it's not going to be hopping on a half an hour long phone call every single day. And then lastly, and arguably the most important point, we'll be looking for clients with reasonable expectations. There, as Zach can attest to, there are always going to be, a subset of potential clients that have unrealistic expectations, that no matter how you optimize or what you focus on, their goals just aren't really attainable. And so that is without a doubt, the most important point here.
Yeah, and it's funny because clients really want the exact opposite. There's some things that overlap there. They want more time for tasks outside of PPC, which is obviously why they're talking to agencies. They want to spend less budget. That's always an interesting one, right? We've got to try to talk them into a budget that's going to make sense for their business. And obviously they want better results, but they're always going to be trying to communicate. And I think back to the first time I ever started working with a financial advisor and gave them some money. And I was logging into the account every day and looking at the stock market every day and really, over communicating or reaching out more often than I needed to the advisor himself. And I realized that wasn't healthy for me and certainly not a healthy relationship for him. And, that goes back to expectation for results tomorrow. They're not going to happen. So you have to set the expectations appropriately with your client so that you can really see the results in the short term, but show them the leading indicators that are going to mean success in the future. So, we're going to really see this tug of war happening where you've got to set up as an agency your client and your relationship for success. And if you do, that first 90 days will be really successful. If tomorrow, they're just not going to see it. And that means that, you guys are going to be probably hearing from them regularly, similar to my financial advisor. But really, doing this kind of back and forth tug of war where you're trying to reset the expectations. Off with what we call internally here a gap analysis, but understanding more about your prospect, where they've been, where they're looking to go, and really trying to get a better understanding of their brand and their vision for the future. If we don't understand where they want to be in 90 days or 6 months or a year, it's going to be really hard to help them get there. So you should always have them open up about new product lines that are coming, new service offerings they want to get into, new areas of exposure for their business. And then really, take notes on this, take very detailed notes on this so that you can focus on your account audit to mirror their account structure to it. We're going to talk a little bit about, home insurance as kind of our account audit that we're going to go through later. But we want to make sure that we know that if they're looking to expand in multi-policy, that their budget is being allocated appropriately for that. So digging in and understanding where they're looking for expansion or growth in the future is really important at the beginning of your relationship. And as you start to dig into that, you want to make sure you understand what success looks like. Success for an e-commerce client's somewhat easy to measure because we know that a conversion is a sale. But it can be very difficult for, someone that's selling insurance because leads have a different conversion rate to customer. Phone calls have a different conversion rate than maybe an online form fill. So you always want to understand what success looks like to them. And then again, when you're thinking about your account audit, is the conversion tracking set up correctly for this? And are they tracking each potential lead appropriately? That could be a white paper download. that could be an email, a contact us form, that could be a phone call. So really important that you're taking solid notes on what success looks like for the potential client and understanding their time frame for achieving those goals. As we all know, we have to accumulate data to take action and optimize them. As a rule of thumb, something that we always like to look at is, hey, we're going to need about 30 days to accumulate data to provide optimizations, and then another 30 days to refine those. So you're looking at somewhere from 6 to 8 weeks before you're really going to start seeing success and achievement of those, number of calls, number of leads, number of sales that you're looking to accomplish for the client. But you've got to set that up on the front end and really make sure that you're giving them a timeline for success and you're providing them some of the leading indicators. So things like traffic to the website can be, important, or click-through rate can show improvement of quality, or bounce rate can be something that's a nice short-term measurement that, hey, I've improved the quality of the traffic, the leads will follow, and there's a strategy in place to get there. So really important that you start to understand their time frame for achieving a specific goal. Next one that's really important, especially as Facebook continues to advance and really drive Google to even advance their buyer and demographic targeting, is, who is their target demographic? So again, using homeowners insurance, someone 18 to 24 years old probably does not own a home, is more than likely not looking for a multi-policy insurance policy. So, we want to really understand who's picking up the phone and calling your business, who's buying your product, and who are you most successful selling to. They might have sold one 24-year-old in the last 12 months, but if they're selling, the majority of their customers are 35 to 45, we need to understand that on the front end and take, again, really specific notes on this. So a multi-policy user versus a home versus an auto, how do each of those look from a demographic perspective so that we can really set up the account for success from the front end? And then, again, as we're mirroring and doing our audit, do their settings and targeting reflect this? Really easy, to go and look into this stuff, but we all interact with devices differently. So even as you start to look at device targeting, someone that's a little bit older might be using Bing and using a laptop to find a homeowner's insurance policy, whereas someone that's a little bit younger might be more prone to use a mobile phone while they're commuting to or from work. So really important that we start to dig into these questions on the front end so that our proposal on the back end can mirror that. Last one that's really important, or second to last one, sorry, that's really important here is what's your current budget? What are they investing in online marketing? And that is going to allow you to start to look at the industry. If their average cost per click is really high and their budget's really low, there's not going to be enough volume to go and acquire the business or even acquire the data necessary for you to optimize the account. So really important that we start to look at what their investment is in online marketing or other channels and open up that conversation early so that you can reset it. And we've got some really nice tools and actually free downloads and infographics with industry averages for last year that I highly recommend you guys going and downloading, and I'll make sure that we include it in our follow-up. But extended benchmarks guides are a really nice way for you to come prepared for the conversation prior to reset those expectations early. Lastly, we need to understand their business. So, how many leads does it take to generate a sale? And this isn't only for the entire business, but it's also for each subset of the business. So an auto policy is going to be different than a homeowner's policy versus a multi-policy. So we want to make sure that we are understanding how much they're making, how many leads it takes to close, and then what their specific cost per lead goal is for that specific lead or sale. And then are their goals in line with that? Are they even achievable with the cost per click within the industry? Again, coming prepared with some of the industry benchmarks is going to allow you to start to reset those expectations before you even dig into your account audit, which will be the next step of the presentation here. Now that we've got all of the business metrics, we want to make sure that we start thinking about what they're really passionate about. That, people buy on both logic and emotion. So thinking about What set them apart? Why did they start their business? Why are they speaking with you? There's probably something they're really passionate about that they want to go and work on. And we, I work with the sales team here a lot on the agency side, and we know that a lot of agencies started because they were doing, web dev or creative development, and they might not be super passionate about PPC, but it's a great revenue stream for them on a monthly recurring basis. If you guys are really passionate about other jobs, we want to make you efficient on the PPC side. You can be doing the same thing for your clients. So understanding what sets them apart from the competition, why they started their business, and then again, as you're doing your audit, beginning to thinking about their unique value prop. Is that mirrored in their ad text? Is that a part of their pitch throughout the entire buying funnel? Not just when they speak to someone, but does it resonate on the search engine results page? Because more often than not, their competitors are there as well. Lastly, and this is for your growth in the future. So we've got questions flowing in already, but one of them was, how do I ask my customers, to kind of spend more with me? And we'll get to that in a bit more depth. But understanding their marketing budget from a holistic perspective, even if you aren't providing, radio or direct mailers or media buys for them, understanding what they're investing in those other channels can be a huge growth vector for you in the future, because you're going to be able to show tangible results. That's the great thing about online marketing. There's no doubt in my mind that right now people are inking, $100,000, $500,000 deals for radio. That money could be coming to you and your agency for Facebook, for Bing, for AdWords, as you look to expand through different networks. So it's really important that you understand their marketing as a whole, even if you aren't going to be controlling all of it. And it can be an awesome opportunity for you to acquire new spend under management. If you are charging by a percentage or charging per network, there's opportunity for you to grow your business organically with your own client base by understanding these numbers early in your relationship with them. So does their plan support future increases for PPC spend? If it does, that's a really nice client for you. And we talked about earlier, and Dave mentioned it. We're looking for folks with big budgets. That doesn't have to be just with what they're investing for you. We want realistic budgets for what they're investing with you, but they might have large budgets elsewhere that when you prove results, when you build this plan and proposal over that first 90 days of success, you can come back and ask for additional budget from other places. One poll we want to put out there that we think is really important, and it's a big part of our process, is, do you request access to a prospect's account prior to pitching new business? This can be read-only access, but we always recommend that you do. And feel free to let us know. This is something that we're starting to try to help create new tools and resources for you guys on. So we'll give you a couple minutes to take the poll here.
All right, it's still coming. Answers are still coming through. Like what we're seeing so far. Alrighty, I'm going to close down the poll for now and show the audience what everyone had to say. So it looks to be that about 94% of the people online with us today do request access to a prospect's account before pitching new business, and we've got about 6% that haven't been able to do that.
That's awesome. And that's great to hear. And what we always want to be thinking about is how can we set those expectations without going and looking at the accounts prior? So really important. Now, if you can't get access, or you're in the preliminary stages of pitching a client and you haven't quite won that level of trust, I'm working hard to develop tools with my team here to make sure that we are able to get a proposal in front of a customer. So if you aren't able to, we highly recommend checking out a free trial of our software. We've got what we call New Business Center, and you can run a proposal generator. This is going to provide you industry benchmarks for expectation setting, a funnel to show where that spend should be allocated, so top of funnel across AdWords or Facebook, mid funnel across search and Bing, and then bottom of funnel with some remarketing. And we're using proprietary data that we've accumulated through our AdWords Performance Grader and some third-party tools, and really trying to give you all an opportunity to set expectations before the client's willing to give you access to their account, or if they don't have an account, because it's really important to your long-term success. Now, let's say you do get access, which is awesome to hear the majority of you are asking for that. We want to check the status of their account. So, Dave, when you're starting to look into an account, what are the 4 key areas that you're starting with, kind of top to bottom, in auditing an AdWords or Bing account prior to bringing on a client?
So the first of the 4 main areas will be the conversion tracking and the overall settings. So how are they tracking success? Are they tracking all of the correct actions, whether that's a form fill on the page, an e-commerce transaction, a phone call, even a user engaging the chatbot on the site? Is everything being tracked? Are you able to track, of the traffic you're driving to the site, what actions are being taken, and with what frequency? On top of that, one issue that we've seen is that sometimes conversion tracking can be set to track the wrong page. So rather than tracking actual form submits, some clients have actually been tracking hits to a certain page where that form resides, and that's a huge issue that effectively renders all of their data, I don't want to say useless, but it's not for use in future optimization. And so that is one of the biggest issues that we've seen, and that is certainly something that you'll want to dig into. One of the second points that we'll look at when auditing account is just overall bidding and budget allocation. Is the account bidding at the keyword level, or are they simply setting ad group level bids? Of course, in managed services, we like to say not all keywords are created equal. You don't want to be paying for keywords that drive traffic, but don't drive form fills, don't drive sales, whatever you measure success as. You want to make sure that you are paying accordingly by keyword performance. Next, we'll like to take a look at overall account structure. How is the account set up? Is it set up with one campaign with 100 ad groups and 80 keywords within each ad group? Does it make sense? Generally, you want to tailor the account structure to how the website is set up. Grouping campaigns thematically. The biggest, the biggest value add to setting things at the campaign level is being able to, of course, set the budget there. So you, from there, can make sure you're driving spend towards the most profitable aspects of the account. If something looks a little off, hey, this isn't necessarily a best practice. If it's working, leave it as is, and you can make tweaks within the structure. But you definitely want to take a look at the overall account structure, reevaluate, do we need to restructure, or can we work with it as is? From there, we'll take a look at the overall keyword strategy. Of course, are they employing all match types? That is a big item that you'll want to take a look at. They're pulling in conversions from broad match keywords. Do they have phrase match and exact match versions of those keywords to go alongside that? You can really kind of tailor, what you're paying by match type, and of course, broad match type keywords generally don't bring in the best traffic. And then from there, they're using a tiered bidding strategy, and obviously, you want to bid according to performance there.
Yeah, that's a great overview, and we're going to do a deep dive into each of these so that you guys can kind of see, hey, where are those red flags sticking out? Where do I go to look for them? And then, which ones are the ones that we want to prioritize? So starting with conversion tracking and settings, this is always a fun one. We actually have a team here, dedicated to implementation, because it's amazing some of the stuff we see where, hey, we've got tracking set up, but hey, it might be on the wrong page, or it might be double counting, or they're tracking both in analytics and in AdWords. So there's any number of potential issues. Here's a screenshot from an account that, Dave, when you look at it, you can see, hey, they got calls from ads. That's outstanding. They're really missing a couple other opportunities where, we're seeing 4 that have no recent conversion. So, what would be the first thing you'd go and look at when you see something like, hey, analytics, sign up, no recent conversions last 30 days?
So the first thing when you see no recent conversions, obviously you're going to want to put through, some sort of test conversion. So whether that's going to the lead form itself, submitting a lead form, using a Google Tag Assistant, you can check to see if the codes are on the correct page. If not, of course, then you can kind of go through the process with the client and get all of that rectified. But the no recent conversions is certainly a telltale issue, or telltale sign, I should say, that there is an issue of some sort. So when it comes to overall conversion tracking, you should see recent conversions coming through, and then when you take a look at the category, you'll see 2 purchase sales conversion actions. That is some indication that they might be double counting. Generally, you won't have 2 purchase or sale categories pulling from the same analytics account.
Yeah, really, really great point. Another thing to always think about is we talked about early on, hey, what's their net profit, CPA goals? Something that you should really look at is are they tracking any conversion values? Obviously, an e-commerce site is a really nice way to look at return on ad spend and really build your value over time. But even when you start to think about, lead to sale, close rate and then average selling price, it's really important that you start to set some goals up for yourself and set those with the client as well. So always look at conversion tracking. Always try to run a test of your own to make sure that you are set up for success. And also when you're providing your audit and you're setting expectations, that you know exactly where the client is today and where you can take them in the long term. So now that we've set up conversion tracking appropriately and we've dug into that and we know there's some issues, the next thing we want to look at if we feel really good about it is the settings. So, here are a few that we always recommend checking in on, things like network segmentation, geo-targeting, ad scheduling, device bid adjustment, ad delivery preferences. There are other ones we mentioned, demographic targeting, but really thinking about how their customers are interacting. So, Dave, I took a couple of screenshots here. We'll talk about network segmentation and device bid adjustment. But when you look at these charts of, cost, clicks, and conversions, what stands out to you and what would be kind of your pitch as a part of your audit?
So the items that we really focus on is just looking at the number of or the level of cost and comparing that to what we see that we're getting back in conversions. So if we just use the device bid adjustments chart for a quick example here, you take a look at the overall cost. The cost for mobile devices there in blue, is let's ballpark it and say 25% of overall cost, where you're only getting about 10 to 15% back in overall conversion volume. So that's a pretty telltale sign right there that you are overpaying for mobile device traffic. So you really want to make sure, clicks is certainly an important metrics to keep an eye on in terms of device breakdown. You can kind of, tailor how the site is built, as well as how it performs based on where you pull most of your traffic, mobile versus desktop. But when it comes to overall performance, you really want to keep an eye on overall cost and overall number of conversions by device.
Yeah, this is always an interesting one, and you can run a lot of these kind of similar reports for other areas like ad scheduling, but network segmentation. There are other tools, and you look at how they're not only spending on these devices or networks, but then the budget allocation on the campaign level. So, if you look at something, there's an outlier, there's always an opportunity to tweak those bid adjustments to better allocate budget towards areas that are converting. But the other thing you always want to dig into as kind of that next step after you look at those campaign level settings and tracking is how are they allocating the budget across the campaign. So setting the right expectations is really important. And here's a screenshot from a great blog post we wrote about how you budget with a client and how you set them up. But if a client comes to you and say, I need 250 new customers per month to sign on, but they're only willing to spend $20,000 as their budget, you're going to want to audit that and make sure that their goals are realistic. So let's just say in this example, their goal cost per lead is $25 per lead. They're looking to get 250 new customers per month. Their average close rate is 15%. With some quick math, you can find out that they're going to need 67 PPC leads per month. at their goal of $25 per lead, which is probably a little bit aggressive, as we all know, they would actually need to invest twice as much per month in their $20,000 budget to achieve that. So, again, some quick math, but just making sure that you're asking those 8 questions on the front end will help you get here and reset the expectations. And hey, maybe they do come back and say, you know what, that sounds great. Thank you for setting that, because a lot of agencies will just say, yes, I can do that for you. It's better to go and set the budget appropriately on the front end, and really start to look at that funnel, and make sure that you're using benchmarks to go and set them appropriately. So, one thing that we always see is the budget to click ratio. So you need a decent amount of volume every single day with your daily budget to make sure that you're generating the right amount of traffic to even get a lead. When you look at it, you got to ask yourself, do these budgets make sense? So in this case, it's a family law, which obviously if we all know that lawyers have some of the highest cost per clicks out there, this account's budgeting $40 per day, and their average cost per click is $17.59. They're only going to be able to get 2 clicks per day. Even with an outstanding conversion rate, it's going to take them a week or 10 days to get a single conversion, which means your optimization time frame is going to take months to really understand what's working and what's not, and really kind of work on that. So it's really important that you start to talk to your clients early in the process about that budget to click ratio, and is it going to make sense, and am I going to be able to get sufficient click volume to optimize. And as you start to think about the campaigns, you should really start to think about how you can break them down. So this is an account that has one campaign with a bunch of ad groups with a really high cost per click and a low daily budget. Whereas you can look at an opportunity to potentially break out the family law services into smaller groupings and better allocate that budget. So, this is obviously a different account where we're selling, scuba gear, but it gives us an opportunity to look at a click to budget ratio that makes sense, where almost every one of these campaigns is going to be able to get 5 to 10 clicks per day, giving you sufficient volume to optimize on a weekly or monthly basis. Really important that you start to look at how these campaigns are broken down and what is that click to budget ratio every single day for each campaign. Now that you've done that, you want to get under the covers a little bit deeper and start to look at things like account structure. So couple key things to look for now that we've looked at settings, we've looked at budgets, we've looked at conversion tracking, is what's under that, hey, one campaign of family law, or what's under those 10 campaigns that are all broken out. So couple things you want to look for that might need a restructure based on your strategy. So, SCAG, single keyword ad groups, while a great strategy in some cases, can be really difficult to management and time consuming to manage long term. Are ad groups divided by match type? Always want to look for that, because there's going to be overlapping traffic very, very often. As Google continues to change match types and get a little bit more lenient with exact match versus phrase match, you want to make sure that you're looking for these red flags, because you can get under the covers and really find a lot of opportunity within the queries where there are overlapping traffic. Is there just one campaign? Are they allocating budget appropriately to that campaign? And we saw an example there with family law. Or are there too many ad groups within one campaign where the budget just isn't getting spread? So Dave mentioned early on, have to make sure that we are looking at different themes for different campaigns. If they're offering 5 services, each of those services should be a campaign so that we can allocate budget to them appropriately with ad groups underneath for varying degrees of services. So one great tool, free on our website, highly recommend leveraging it to identify potential issues with a client, but is our AdWords Performance Grader. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. If not, and you're prospecting or looking to optimize a client's account, definitely go run it. Again, completely free. It does a 10-point audit on the account, but one of the great places to look is size of the account. This theme that we're going to go through for the next few slides here is all the same account, but you can see right out of the gate, average keywords per ad group is 81.7. As we all know, AdWords is all about relevancy. Google built their business on providing relevant search results for the searcher. If you have 81 keywords in one ad group, it's really hard to write an ad that is relevant to all 81 of them. And that's going to lower your quality score. So you can see right here, the quality score is at 3.7. Slight improvements in that quality score are really going to help that impression share that's lost due to ad rank. So when you're looking at setting expectations and you're looking at doing your account audit, leverage tools at your disposal. Go and find areas of opportunity that are going to save you a bunch of time, which time is money for every agency, and allow you to go and pinpoint the great areas of opportunity to go look at within the account. So, Dave, when you look at this account structure, what's the first thing that you really see that's a struggle that's going to raise a red flag for you?
So the first thing that you would notice when you take a look at this campaign here is that the home insurance ad group is essentially cannibalizing all of the budget for the entire campaign. You pulled 538 clicks for the campaign as a whole. 513 of those clicks have come from that one ad group. So it's pretty obvious in this case that the home insurance ad group has the vast majority of the search volume behind it. That's not to say that's where you're going to see a lot of your success. When you take a look at, the overall spend and then the column right next to that, the CPA, the ad group with the second lowest spend, multi-policy, has the lowest CPA. So you would want all of your budget flowing towards that ad group before any other ad group. So right now, the home insurance ad group is limiting the performance of the multi-policy ad group. So you would either want to break that out or, turn up the bids a bit for multi-policy, because the home insurance ad group is spending the campaign budget before the multi-policy ad group, has time to get out of bed and get dressed.
And that's so important to look at. And I told a little bit of the story early on, but as you're looking at the vision for the business and you're talking to your prospects, and understanding where they're looking to grow, multi-policy is something that a lot of insurance companies are pushing for. And Dave mentioned a great point. The cost per acquisition is much lower there, and I'm willing to bet that the long-term lifetime value is much higher. So really nice point. And guys, this goes back to the example of a one campaign account structure with ad groups underneath it. And you can see just the way they've labeled the ad groups, there is an overlap there. And the next place you'd want to go and look would be the keywords. So I'm going to highlight a couple examples here, and then we're going to go one layer deeper. I'll let Dave come in. But what are the keywords that are driving traffic at a really high volume? And you can go and see, wow, broad match and modified broad match with really looking at 49,000 of the 57,000 impressions coming from 2 keywords with a significant amount of the cost. Always important to go and look at this, because these are more than likely cannibalizing traffic from other ad groups and potential business that we could have acquired at a much lower cost. So, one thing that's really important here, and I'm going to provide a little bit of a plug, but one-word negative keywords become really important here. And you can see home insurance company with a keyword for insurance home on modified broad match, they're going to overlap. And insurance home is going to cannibalize all the traffic from home insurance company or home insurance quotes every single day of the week, because Google can charge you a premium on that cost per click. So when you can go back to the client and expose that to them and then execute on those one-word negative keywords on the ad group level with a tool like WordStream, or by using the search terms report and really trying to dig in there, you can save them a ton of money, but more importantly, reallocate that investment into a lower cost per click and a higher conversion rate with those longer tail keywords that are now being cannibalized by that traffic. So a great way to look at that is to analyze both the keywords and the queries by match type. This is something that Dave and team do regularly, but this is the same account, and right out of the gate, I know we just highlighted it briefly. If you look at a 6-month average here, or a 6-month running total of spend and traffic by match type, you can see that there are significant outliers there. So Dave, when you look at this both on the keyword traffic and the query traffic, what resonates with you here?
So the biggest thing that jumps off the page at first glance is definitely the level of spend. When we're looking at the top table, the level of spend for the different match types. So when we look at broad match, of the 19.8K that we've spent here, 19.6 has flowed towards the broad match keywords. And so, there's always going to be a bit of a disparity between broad, phrase, and exact match traffic. Obviously, broad, you have the ability to pull through a far higher amount of traffic. However, it certainly would seem that there, are potential opportunities for negative keywords, just reviewing all of the search queries behind the broad match traffic. And then on top of that, taking a look at where you're having success within your broad match keywords, making sure that you have a phrase and exact match variant of those, because the phrase and exact match variant are going to be able to pull through higher quality traffic at a much greater frequency.
And from a management perspective, saving yourself time by having more and more exact or phrase match keywords added from that query data. It's really an awesome pitch to be able to go back to the client and let them know that you found a new potential ad group in their search terms that you want to go and build for them for a service that they might not be advertising, or that they said they wanted to generate more qualified traffic from. You can use the query data and really dig into it to find potential negative keywords and savings. Again, free tools like our AdWords Performance Grader, or even our free trial, will highlight that. Or you could do it manually, but really important that you go and identify potential queries that can be added as a negative from all that broad match traffic, that $18,381 spent on queries that matched in. And then find new opportunities. We might find that people are searching for multi-policy insurance companies, but it's all matching to our more general terms, and really we're overspending and under converting on that traffic. Another opportunity is to leverage some free tools at your disposal for a new keyword strategy. So not only can you leverage what they've generated today, and what queries have been driven from that, but we've got a great keyword research tool free that you can leverage, provides you what we call an opportunity score. That is basically competition, cost per click, and some of the quality score metrics that we have here internally on that term. And then also, there's some really cool tools that a lot of our team uses that just make it easy for you to do some competitive analysis. So this one's called Keywords Everywhere. It's a Chrome extension. Highly recommend you go and add it. Free to use. And really what it does is it starts to index, as you search on Google, other keywords that might be surfaced there. Some volume, cost per click, and show you some of the levels of competition that might be there, so that, again, you can set those realistic expectations. So even if your client doesn't have an account set up, or wants to do some expansion in a certain area where they don't have an ad group or campaign, you can start to do some competitive intelligence and research around it and dig into the keywords and benchmarks that might be there. So now that we've acquired the customer, because you put together an awesome pitch and an awesome account audit, one last thing we want to think about in that first 30 to 90 days is onboarding and client communication cadence. So Dave, I want to throw this one to you here while we start to wrap up and open up some questions. But we want our customers to be talking to you regularly, and we always want it to be a good conversation. So what is that communication cadence that you guys set up, and what are you looking to review on that monthly or bi-weekly basis with each of your clients?
Sure. So again, this really kind of is on a client-by-client basis. Some people would rather speak to you once a month. Some would like to speak to you a bit more frequently. But when we're on that client call, we want to take a look at, what are we seeing? Why do we think this is happening? What are we going to do about it? And what do we think is going to happen from there? And so, you can, again, figure out, what your best cadence is, with each individual client, whether that's a 15, 30 hour long call, you can best figure that out on your side. But you'll want to have white labeled reports to send to them, at the beginning of each week, again, just summarizing what's been going on, why you think it's happening and what you're going to do about it. So they, at the very least, have insight as to what's going on, and they can feel assured, that you are taking action on their behalf. And one item that we really like to keep up with is just a task list. whether that's a biweekly task list, really just focusing on, what are we going to do between, our meeting today and our next meeting, whether that's, 2 weeks or a month from now, just making sure that they're in the loop, they have an understanding as to what's going on and why.
Yeah, incredibly important to, I think the most important thing that we've found and that we do is same day and time, every month, every week, if it's bi-weekly, even that. It allows you to have that on the calendar, hold yourself and the client accountable for that, and have a cadence by which you're communicating the reports prior to that. And create your story. Make sure that you are looking at those leading indicators. It's not always going to mean that the phone's ringing off the hook week 1, but if everything else is starting to flow in the right direction, we know that the calls are coming. Really important to set that up, and then have your task list for the next 2 weeks to continue to execute on that. So to recap, you want to present your prospects with any issues with current conversion tracking. We want to iron those out. We want to make sure that we're putting together our proposal based on those issues. If we know that they're double counting, we want to know that early on so that we can present the right solutions to them. We want to make sure that we have a campaign structure that mirrors their business goals. We don't want to see one campaign for a variety of services that all have a different lifetime value or cost per acquisition. So we always want to understand their business goals and then create a structure that mirrors that. Next, we want to make sure that each campaign's budget is based on the cost per click for that campaign. As we saw, even on the ad group level, multi-policy has a much lower cost per click than home insurance. So we want to make sure that those are broken out into their own campaigns and we're allocating budget appropriately based on the cost per click for that service or product. Next one, how do those ad groups flow? How are the keywords broken out, and what is the match type strategy? You will always find that broad match and modified broad match are going to cannibalize traffic, so you want to make sure that you are adding and bidding on exact and phrase match as much as possible. One word negative keywords are your friend in this scenario to make sure that you are funneling traffic to the ad groups that you worked really hard to create, and you want to make sure that you're bringing that to the client early in the conversation, because when they see that flaw, they're going to see a lot of opportunity there. And then lastly, a call cadence with standard reporting. We want the reports to look and feel the same every week. We want to make sure that we are telling a story that mirrors any leading indicators for potential success and mirrors their goals. And we want to make sure we're being transparent. So many folks have gotten burned by, other agencies or other promises that have failed. You want to make sure you're setting realistic expectations and being transparent with the customer, and you're having that call cadence that sets you up for success. This wraps up the presentation. We're going to open it up for questions here, and Amanda will open that up, and we'll be happy to answer them for the last few minutes that we have.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach and Dave. That was tons of information, super helpful. Again, this webinar was kind of made by you guys' suggestions, so keep the questions coming, keep the ideas coming. We want these webinars to be helpful to you, and we love hearing from you. So one kind of higher level idea is, you mentioned stuff about marketing budget and getting like a full idea of the picture. Can you just remind us why that was important, like knowing what else they're spending money on? And then as kind of a part B to that, is there any type of budget that's just too small? Should we not even consider that client?
Yeah, I think it's a good two-part question. So one, it's really important to understand their level of investment in marketing in general. It shows a level of commitment. It shows a level of potential growth. And yeah, there's definitely a budget that's too small. I think when you want to do an audit of cost per click and really understand if you're going to be able to give them success, because it's a lot of work on the front end to even put out one of these proposals. Never mind the work that goes in on the front end to restructuring an account. You want to make sure that they're going to be committed to investing an amount of money on a daily basis that should get them, somewhere from 5 to 10 clicks per the campaign that they're looking to advertise on, at a minimum. The other thing is making sure you're pricing your services appropriately. We have a great webinar and a lot of great content on pricing services for agencies. I recommend you guys go do some research. There's a recording of that as well. But it's important to not only have an investment from them on the marketing side of things, but an investment in you and your time to ensure that you're able to dedicate the time and resources necessary to make them successful.
Great. And you mentioned throughout the presentation, some of the features that WordStream has. So I wanted to launch the poll just to kind of ask people, if you want to dive into more information about that proposal generator that Zach mentioned, or the new business center, check that out with one of our experts. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to talk to you one-on-one about your agency specifically. And that kind of ties into another question that we had, which was, you talked about single term negative keywords, and I just wanted to clarify, is that most effective on an ad group level? And is there a way that QueryStream kind of sets ourselves apart where we can do that easier for people on the line?
Yeah, great question. So we've got a few tools. We've actually got an alert that will provide you 1 or 2 word negative keywords on the ad group level. You can also, they do sometimes flow up to the campaign level. It's very seldom that a 1 or 2 word would flow up to the account level unless it's something like free. And they don't provide a free service, or used, and they don't sell used products. It's really important to do that. We have an alert that will bubble those to your attention, once a week, providing those ad group level recommendations. And then, QueryStream has, one-click negatives where we can actually click on one word within the query to add it as a negative keyword to the ad group again, or campaign level. And another feature that we just rolled out that is huge for efficiencies and identifying opportunities is what we call quick access query stream. So you can actually filter those queries by a specific keyword. So in the example we looked at where home insurance on modified broad match and broad match was driving the majority of the traffic, we could actually filter all of the queries down that are matching to that, and then start to pick off 1 or 2 word negative keywords, and also find that new ad group, find that traffic that's coming from multi-policy, find that new opportunity to go and present the client that's going to get them to sign on with you, because you've built a level of trust and credibility that almost no one else or no other agency can be going out there and presenting, because it really gives you that roadmap for success in the first few weeks. And then obviously, our tools make it easy to just go and implement those changes. And with New Business Center, you'll not only get access to the proposal generator and the AdWords Performance Grader, you'll actually get a free trial environment to be able to go and look at the account and use some of these tools to pinpoint exactly what you want to provide the prospect.
Awesome. And that's about all the time for questions we have today, but I just wanted to reiterate everything that we talked about can also be found on our website, and all of the free tools Zach mentioned can also be found there, like the AdWords Grader, that can really help you kind of discover the status of your prospect's account beforehand. So definitely take a peek at wordstream.com and feel free to contact us. And again, let us know if you'd like to talk one-on-one about your agency specifically. So with that kind of wraps everything up, and we hope to see everyone on our next webinar. Thank you.